What up, everybody? It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr. Dope Status on Instagram, and welcome back to another tutorial. So today we are back inside the machine, and I want to help you guys understand how to use grain delay. Now, this plugin is going to be kind of difficult to explain because it's one of those plugins where I feel that you have to really just kind of experiment with the plugin. But I'm going to show you guys how I use it in this tutorial. The first question is, what is grain delay? Grain delay is useful for creating ambient textures. And the way I'm using it is to basically have a wider snare. So I'm gonna put the beat here starting at bar number 9, and I want you guys to focus your attention in on the snare. All right, so you heard the snare. So let's go ahead and add in grain delay and listen to the snare one more time. All right, so grain delay is broken into two different sections. You have the grain section, and then you have the cloud section. Now, the grain section consists of the pitch, size, jitter, and reverse, while the cloud section consists of the space, density, mod, and mix. All right, so the parameters that I'm adjusting here are the pitch, size, density, mod, stereo, and then of course the mix, which is basically the wet and dry ratio. So first of all, we're taking a look at the pitch here. If you go to the left, that's going to give you like a deeper sound. And then if you go to the right, it's going to give you more of like a chipmunk higher pitch sound. All right. Now the size defines the length of the grains. So let's go ahead and listen to what these two sound like. So as you just heard, it adds a different texture to the track here. So the jitter is supposed to introduce artifacts into the grains. Let's take a listen to, as I move the knob, what it's doing to the snare. And that's the jitter. I really don't hear too much of a difference with the jitter. Maybe it controls a different part of the parameter, but it's supposed to introduce some artifacts into the grains. The next thing I want to talk about is the reverse, and that's this toggle switch right here. And all that does is just produces a reverse playback of the grain. All right, so now that we talked about the grain section, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the cloud section. And the first parameter that we have for the cloud section is the space. And the space determines the spacing between the grain clouds. The higher the value, the bigger the space between the clouds. So let's take a listen. And I'm just going to adjust my density here, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. So that is the space there. So for right now, I'm gonna keep that at 0. Now the density creates more like a dense cloud. So the higher values create a feedback like effect. All right, so let's go ahead and turn this all the way up again. And I'm just gonna adjust the space. You can kind of hear how it's feeding back. But for now, I want the sound to be really tight and just have like a nice little delay to it. So I'm going to keep the density all the way up and then the space all the way down. So the next parameter that we have here is the mod, and that just means the modulation introduced into the grain cloud. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust this control here and play the beat. So to me, it just kind of feels like it's kind of blurring that snare into the background to like a space, aka the cloud. All right, so the next parameter that we have here is the mix control, and that's just basically the wet and dry ratio. Because I have it instantiated on the actual channel, I just kind of control the mix right here. All right, so last but not least, we have the stereo effect, which basically adjusts the width of the signal. All right, so at 0, you have no stereo, and 100% you have full, but you can also do it anywhere in between. In this instance, I have it all the way up. So let's go ahead and play it again with everything instantiated. And again with it off. And that's just kind of A-B it. So it just kind of gives me a little bit more space within my mix, and having that snare drum just kind of gives it a little bit more ambience. And that's how I use grain delay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It's your boy Young Fizz. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the bell notifications. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next tutorial. We out.